Hello there and welcome to Heart Explained Therapy. I'm going to try and break down anxiety to help you if you suffer with it. Now, one of the first things to get your head round is this isn't what the doctors tell you and the specialists and the intellectual people tell you. It's not an illness. If you are told that you have an illness that is, with something that is completely natural and normal, you're going to add anxiety and more anxious issues to the problem. This is just a natural feeling that your body produces to say there's something out there that's uncomfortable. There's something that you're worried about, and you're probably worrying about it without really being conscious you're worrying about it, but it's something you're not addressing. Now, this is a very good, basically, feature to have. Your body has a system to highlight something that if you fix the problem, you're going to feel better. Now, unfortunately, the feeling that you have, the palpitations, the fear has come on after the event of what you're worried about. The moment before anxiety is the stuff that we've really got to understand. So how can we start being aware about the first bit before we get the anxiety? My first bit of advice would get a notebook and start to write down when these anxiety accounts happen, how long they last, where you are at the time, the diet, the sleep that you had, did you drink, have you been taking a substance more than normally, have you missed tablets that you've took recently. All these sort of information are surrounding the anxiety moment. Now you might have to go back a few days, because 3 days ago something might have happened. You got a text message or something reminded you of something bad on Facebook, or a bad memory come up, and you never really handled it, you just suppressed it. So you've got to think back a few days before and remember, the anxiety bit is just warning you that there's something uncomfortable. Now, hundreds of years ago, we needed this mechanism. It helped us survive, and it still helps you to survive today. It's a little bit different. It's a coping mechanism that we don't know how to cope with, and we've just got to learn to master the emotions. Now, if you can't master the emotions, because there's a big leap from I have anxiety to anxiety is just a friend, it's just a good feeling. How can we make that big step to be able to take away these feelings? And the key, as always, is you being aware that this natural feeling is just the highlight to a problem that you're not solving, that you're not bringing to the surface and handling. And how can you handle something that makes you feel so uncomfortable? Well, this is where you've got to call out for friends and family to help you through this. You have to look at this logbook after 2 weeks, and you'll start to see a pattern. You'll start to see, when I only sleep for 5 hours, I struggle the next day and the anxiety comes on. It could be a simple thing that when you don't have enough sleep, you're struggling to deal with these emotions that you normally handle. Or it's every time I have 2 days off work, I get anxiety really bad. Now, this isn't to say you've got to work every day. It's to say what is in the environment, or what does the environment of work take away? And you've got to sort of work out the puzzle. No one can really tell you the specific reason your anxiety is coming up. You have to see a therapist and have lots of sessions and get down to stuff, and even then, after you've said the 10 things that you think make you anxious, there could be another 10 waiting. So it's a very difficult sort of mind game. There's some great tips in the meantime that you can work on. Personally, for me, and I've been doing this for a few years now, why not try to do a positive thing when you feel bad? I think this positive thing that you do whilst you feel bad actually retrains the the brain to say that you're not anxious. It says that, oh, now this feeling comes on, I'm going to go to the gym, go for a walk, do a distraction that is very positive, because I think this builds up a habit in your body to feel the anxiety not as a disabling anxiety, not as I'm going to drink, smoke and eat takeaway food because of this feeling, but it retrains your brain to say, hey up, this feeling is coming on. It's something that's highlighting a problem, and I'm going to take the energy and do an extra hour workout, or I'm going to read a book and learn some great knowledge for my mind, or I'm going to look into that course that I want to do. Just something very personal and something that just makes you happy. In the future, if you do this for long enough, the bad feeling reminds you to do good stuff, and the good stuff reminds you that the bad feeling is a positive. It's going to be met with a reward feeling. Now, some other things that you can do, if it's getting really bad to the point where you're really in the head and you can't get out of the head, remember this simple thought, that a thought creates anxiety. There could be no anxiety without you thinking. So you've got different options here. You can stop thinking. Now, this will sound very strange. We think 50 to 70,000 times a day. How can you switch thoughts off? Well, if you look at all the positive things in the will to do, the top 5 of what any doctor would tell you to actually do for positivity, have a look what they tell you to do. It's go for a walk in nature. It's actually have a shower. It's actually read a book. It's actually simple things that make your mind focus on one singular thought process. It's just bringing your attention away from the debt that you have, the relationship issue, away from the cause of the anxiety, and it's honing into a different distraction. Now, of course, this is I don't really like this technique because it's still not really acknowledging the problem. But if you can't acknowledge the problem and you need a bit of time to master those emotions, then going for the walk, just taking your attention off. I mean, a lot of people do bad things like go on social media, and you can easily get filled with more fear. One of the worst things I've noticed people doing is when they feel bad, they'll watch the news, they'll watch reality TV, lots of fake people that have a great life, and you just filling your head with more things to make you feel anxious about, because that's not your life, or you fear that the news could affect you in some way. So this is important to really get your head around, that you've got to take this attention away from your current circumstances, the stuff that's worrying about, and just focus your attention to something really peaceful. Mindfulness. Another thing that you can do, like I said about meditating, and meditating is the trying to not think at all, really, and you have lots of thoughts coming in, you have to kind of let them go. Now, in your busy life, this is very difficult to do. However, there's a way that you can meditate where you're not really unconscious. You're actually sort of meditating in the way that you work. And I just want to give you an example of this, because this is again another important tool that I use personally that really works. If I have lots of thoughts, and remember, one of the causes of anxiety is overthinking. Overthinking about worries, or being unconscious that you're overthinking about worries. What I like to do is try and get into the present moment, no matter how bad that is. So let's say that you are at work, you have an hour's work ahead of you, and you already have the plan of what it's going to be like. Now, what you would normally do is already be thinking of when you get home, the fact that you've got to pick the kids up, the fact that you've got to put the tea on, the fact that you've got to go around to the friend's house, neighbour's house, your uncle and aunt's house, you're due a phone call, you've got a bill, you've got all these stuff going on in this time when you're trying to work and multitask anyway. Forget about all those faults. All those faults doesn't help you pick your children up, it doesn't help you put the tea on, it doesn't actually do anything. Those plans just add to the current state of you feeling uncomfortable. So hone in on the job that you're doing. So if you've got a job ahead and you know you've got sort of 10 tasks in the next hour, take one at a time, be completely present, listen to that work colleague differently. In fact, ask that colleague about everything to do with their life. Be completely submerged in somebody else's reality just for 10 minutes and be present in that time and be there for that other person. This is a good sort of real-time meditation trick that manages to take all your worries away, makes you present in the moment, and then makes you realise that a lot of those thoughts that you have just don't actually get anything done. When's the last time at 12 o'clock in the day that you thought about all the stuff that you had to do after work? When was the last time all that got done by you thinking about it? Now you could say that you created a better plan, but the plan again is taking you out of the perfect time of your life, which is in the present moment. It might be uncomfortable, it might not be the best, but when you get into this feeling and just submerge yourself into the only real time that you've got, you realise you start to actually be able to meditate at work, when you're driving, when you're meeting somebody. It's kind of like having a daydream, and your life then becomes a daydream, and the worries tend to go away, and you can plan and do all the stuff with a clearer mind. It's not the worried mind, anxious, short-fused, angry, snappy. Your behaviour isn't affected by this because you've cleared it. You're in the moment. You can work stuff out so much easier with that clear mind. So I think that really helps me personally. So try and understand you've got a natural thing that's happening. This will take away the first bit of fear that you shouldn't feel like this. As much as it is horrible, just remember it's just in the mind. If you can separate that mind from the physical part of your body just for 1 second, send your attention out elsewhere, be focused in the moment more, you'll realise that you pick up these tricks that just ease your anxiety over time. And remember, it takes roughly 3 months for your mind and body to pick up a new habit that you just naturally do. So if you start catching these thoughts and you start writing down these problems and you see you're not getting enough sleep, you're not on a good diet, you're having a drink, and I hear people say, I'm perfectly function fine on 5 hours sleep, I perfectly function fine if I have 4 bottles of wine a night, and they have all these excuses. But I ask yourself, take them away for a week and you'll see that the feeling that you thought was normal is actually the feeling that produces the lack of strength and motivation and willpower to actually keep that anxiety in check, or even just understand that anxiety is natural. You had a really bad reminder, you had a letter come through that's a debt, you are bound to worry about this. But because of this lack of management of your emotions and the lack of power and ability that you've got, because of these flaws that you have in your life that you don't do because you can't do them all the time, means that you end up being this cocktail of madness. And it's okay, it's all right, don't worry about it. And I know that's like a really bad thing to say, as in don't worry about your anxiety, but I like to say this little story that probably won't make any sense, but remember, and it goes back to the doctors and the other videos that you can watch, where I like to do a lot of research, and every video I come across described anxiety as a mental illness. Now I've tried to think of a little story. If you was given a pendant from your grandmother or grandfather or your child, your son or daughter, and they said, hold this, put it in your bedroom, hang it up above the bed, and it will bring you nothing but luck. If you believe in that little story, over the next few weeks you'll start to see things happening, and every bit of luck that you have, you will put it down to the pendant. Now if someone said this pendant is cursed a few weeks later, sorry, it gives you bad luck, I didn't realise. The few weeks after that, every bit of bad luck that you get, you'll put down to this pendant. Now it's just a simple story, but it's a story that I want you to really understand what I'm trying to say. Your anxiety, when classed in your own mind as a problem, as an illness, as something that you don't like, only grows and expands. It only makes it more uncomfortable because you're actually telling yourself you don't like this feeling. So if you can attach a different pattern, and our mind attaches patterns all the time, placebo effects. When's the last time you had a little bit of luck and you put it down to some sort of karma story? If you start to say this feeling means I'm going to feel good, I'm going to feel great after this, this is a warning that I haven't accepted something, I know what it is, I understand, it's a lack of sleep, I can catch up tonight, it's because I haven't gone to the gym for 3 days, whatever the little technical thing is, which you will realise in the feeling of goodness that you will have over time. The reaction when it starts to build up, you'll catch it at such an early stage, and your body will so sort of be natural to that feeling, and you'll start to change the story as in this is a good thing, it's highlighted something, I'm aware of it, I'm on it, I'm actually on it, thanks a lot, I appreciate this human natural condition, this sensor being triggered. And if you can change that sort of imaginary story in your head, the feeling of anxiety actually changes to excitement. It's actually the process of you growing rather than the process of you being paralysed. It takes a bit of time. It will take 3 months for you to learn this naturally, but keep practicing all the things, watch this over and over again, and give it a few weeks, and you will see massive changes, and you'll see that it all stems from the mind, and the mind is controlled by diet, sleep, your feelings dictate it, the people that surround you. You'll start to see strange little things like Auntie Pauline calls me every Tuesday, and my God, I have a panic attack for 2 days. Now, is she speaking about COVID? Is she triggering something? You'll start to see this if you get this sort of manual, this journal. Now, it's difficult for me to say this now because I don't have the mad feelings. It kind of comes on and I'm aware to get rid of them straight away. So this might sound easy to somebody who can master emotions. So I understand if it's not the best information, but hopefully there's something in there that you can just work on and just try your best. That's all you can do, just try your best, and remember that feeling is just completely natural, completely normal, and it's actually been created by you. So the fact that you create it means that you can get rid of it. It doesn't have to exist.